try to have good traction, but it's always quite tricky on this part of the track. And we have another longish straight and braking again 100 meter, again down to second gear, downhill corner, quite tricky. Be careful at the exit. Then we arrive to the fastest part of the track, which is this third gear corner, third, fourth gear. Then another left corner, the only two left corners of the track, fourth gear. Not a lot of braking. You have to use all the track as maximum as you're allowed to. And then the last two corners, quite a fast one. This one, be careful again with the track limits at the exit. And then the last corner, early braking and try to get maximum speed out of it using the whole track. And that's a lap to the Red Bull Ring.
I'm now here with Mattias Ekström. Eki, now it's the second half of the season has just begun. That means we had 5 races already. You were on the podium 3 times. All in all, how would you say is your personal conclusion of the first half of the season?
It's always nice to be on the podium, sure. Still, we haven't been on the top spot, which is always the dream. And I think in Hockenheim we would have had a chance, but the other races we didn't have pace enough. So I'm still pretty pleased to have a lot of good points and some good races.
Now, you won the title twice already. How about a title hat trick? What are the chances this year to gain another title, the third title?
Yeah, sure. When you're second in championship, there's always a chance. But BMW and Marco Wittmann are doing a good job. So to catch them will be difficult. Still, there's a chance. And as long as there is a chance, we are going to fight.
And now it's official that we're not going to China. We're going to Zandvoort. What do you think of that personally?
I think it's great. I don't like Asia at all, and I have a lot of success and good memories from Zandvoort, so I really look forward to go there.
And now today in the race you're starting from P15. What are the chances that you're going to do well in the race, and what are you hoping for?
I mean, the racing here is always special. I think with DRS you are very often able to pass, so I think it's quite nice, but big picture, to get some points is still where we have to aim for. I mean, historical-wise, 10 places is a realistic target, but that will mean also some luck because all cars in front nearly are hard-fighting enemies from BMW, Mercedes, only one Audi, I think, in front of me. So it will be a very difficult job, but I will, as always, fight like an animal in the race.
I'm sure. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Well, Mattias Ekström laying it down exactly how he's going to do it. Here's the grid in full for you. Robert Wickens, pole position. Timo Glock alongside him.
And then on the second row of the grid, the championship leader, Marco Wittmann, then Augusto Farfus starts 4th.
There we see Pascal Wehrlein, a brilliant qualifying from him, P5, the best Audi, Jenny Green, P6.
Then the first of the cars starting on the harder standard tyres, Christian Vittoris, already a race winner this season. Likewise, Maxime Martin, who won last time out.
Joey Hand, a good qualifying from him, puts him on P9. He has Bruno Spengler alongside him in P10.
Then on the 6th row of the grid, the former champion Martin Tomczyk and the man you've heard from, Daniel Hunkedella.
Yes, Daniel Hunkedella taking us for a great lap. Antonio Felix da Costa will go from P13. Timo Scheider P14.
And then on the 8th row of the grid, Mattias Ekström looking to charge forwards. Likewise, Miguel Molina.
Mike Rockenfeller P17. Nico Muller P18.
And then the drivers that got knocked out in the first phase of qualifying, Gary Paffett and Adrian Tombe, need a good run forwards.
So too, Eduardo Mortara and Vitaly Petrov.
And then starting right at the back of the grid is Paul de Resta. And Verena has caught up with Robert Wickens at pole sitter.
Absolutely. I'm here with a man who made yesterday's qualifying super exciting. I mean, what a show that was. First, in the last session, you had a big spin, a bad spin, and then last minute you snatched pole position. What kind of show can we expect from you today?
Hopefully no spins. Yeah, I mean, it was unplanned, obviously, but you know, I was able to calm down again and put together a lap that was good enough for pole position. But today's a new day, and I'm gonna see what happens, get a good start, and then hopefully try to control the race from there. But it's not gonna be easy.
I bet, but all the best. Thank you so much, Robert, and cool shades. I want some too. Back to you guys.
Cool shades, cool haircut for Robert Wickens. Yeah. And here we are then looking down the grid at all these DTM stars about to do battle on this roller coaster of a circuit that is the Red Bull Ring. A huge crowd here to enjoy the race this afternoon as we look at Timo Scheider, his final preparations before he climbs into the car. Starting back down there from P14 for Timo Scheider, not having the season that he'd so dearly wanted to have. As we expected, probably Chris Hartley alongside me, first 3 rows of the grid all starting on the option tyres. But I wonder what a difference it's going to make here in that so far tyre degradation has been surprisingly light, hasn't it?
Yeah, particularly at this circuit, which has a super smooth surface, despite the fact there are lots of quick corners here. And the option tyres that Hankook provide, they're softer, they're quicker, but they are also very durable. We haven't seen them really going off at the end of stints. So they all have to run in dry conditions on both compounds of tyre. The top 6 are all starting on the softer option tyre, so expect them to go off, but then like a rocket. But then in the second half of the race, of course, then they'll be on the slower tyres. And then you've got the next 4 in the top 10, Vitoris, Martin, Hand and Spengler, all starting on standard. And then it's mixed, really, in the second half of the grid. 1 or 2 going for the options, 1 or 2 going for the standard tyres.
You mentioned Joey Hand, the American racer we see there, and he's starting from P9 for the Crown Plaza-backed driver. See what Joey Hand can deliver from there. And victorious, of course, at the Moscow Raceway, Maxime Martin.
Yeah, Maxime Martin in his first season of racing and former runner-up in the Block Bond Endurance Series, switching to DTM and having a steady start to the season, then an absolutely terrific drive at Moscow, where he started the race from pole position and managed to take a race win. One of 4 different winners that we've had so far this season in the DTM.
Fantastic helicopter shot will reveal this circuit with the grid there in graphics. The yellow denotes the option tyre, the white denotes the regular tyre. It's Wickens, Glock, Wittmann, Farfus, Verlaine and Green, the first 3 rows of the grid, all running on the option tyres. Then it's Vitoris and Martin and Joey Hand. Then it's Spengler, Tomczyk, Juncadella, Felix da Costa, Scheider, Ekstrom, Molina, Rockenfeller, Muller, Paffet, Tombe, Mortara, Petrov and Paul Di Resta. Now, what this aerial shot from the helicopter didn't give us really is the roller coaster nature of this circuit, Chris. I know you walked up to turn 2 a little bit earlier today, and it's a fair old trek, isn't it?
It is a very, very steep climb. Firstly, quite an incline up to turn 1 from the start grid, then a really steep climb, which gets steeper and steeper as you get up to the top corner, up to turn 2. And the boss of Mercedes is now speaking down on the grid with Verena.
Yes, I'm here with Wolfgang Schattling. Now, yesterday we really saw phenomenal qualifying in regards to Robert Wickens. He really did a great job. However, there are 3 BMWs breathing down his neck, so certainly it's going to be a tough race. But it seems that the summer break you really used well, because you seem to have found your pace also on regular tracks.
I must admit we were really surprised to be up front like we are now, but on the other hand, we knew the circuit would come to us in a better way than Moscow did, and so we had some hope, but that we could achieve pole was a positive surprise, I must say.
Now, Robert is a really cool guy. Do you think he's going to keep his calm now in the race and hopefully end up on the podium? Hopefully victory?
I don't know where he will come out, but he will give his very best, and he is a very talented driver. He's very cool, and so he's under stress, he performs well, so we are absolutely convinced he will do well, but we never know.
Well, crossing our fingers, looking forward to a great race. Thank you very much, Wolfgang Schattling, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Wolfgang Schattling, of course, it's like a huge cloud has been lifted from off of his head. Doubtless they have been working very, very hard to get that Mercedes back on terms again. It was mixed qualifying for Mercedes yesterday. Obviously, Robert Wickens on pole. But they're trying different things on different cars, aren't they, to try and maximise the gains that they're making. Some win, some lose.
And it was so tight. I mean, a couple of tenths was the difference between the entire field. So you had Gary Paffett going out in the first part of qualifying, but he was on a very similar pace to some of the drivers that got through to the final part of qualifying. The top 6 yesterday were covered by less than 1/10 of a second. 0.006 of a second covered the top 2 on the grid. It's incredibly tight. These are the sorts of tight gaps that we've seen on the past around shorter circuits like the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, but this is quite a long circuit relative to that at 4.3 kilometres.
Okay, it's a home race for Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich from Audi, who is with Verena now.
Yes, he certainly is. Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, you feel at home here. You are Austrian, so that's a plus, definitely. However, the qualifying yesterday certainly didn't go well for Audi. Very disappointing results with Eki and Motara all the way in the back. What can we expect today? And are you perhaps hoping that the weather god is going to do some crazy weather?
No, I think the weather god, he brings the same weather for everybody. For sure, it's better if you are in a better starting position, that maybe some unpredicted things from weather help to mix things together. But no, it's not the idea. We discussed yesterday a lot after this qualifying. For sure, we are not happy with this result. But we are going to attack and try to make the best out of it.
I'm sure you will. Thank you very much, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich. Back to you guys. The race is about to start.
Thanks, Verena. And, well, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich then being ever truthful, of course. They're going to fight, aren't they? They're going to do everything they possibly can as we look at a great shot there of the current champion, Mike Rockenfeller's car. Rocky, of course, taking a grid drop of 3 positions following the Moscow incident with Adrien Tombay. We did see in graphics the championship table just a few moments ago. Marco Wittmann leads that at the moment, has a 20-point advantage over Matthias Ekström. Wittmann starting a long way further up the order than Matthias Ekström is, so Wittmann will be looking for a very, very good start here. But there is the man on pole position. Left it to the final seconds of qualifying yesterday to plat in that pole position, but did it in style, Robert Wickens.
Yeah, it was a superb effort. He had a spin through the final turn at free practice. Then he did the same in the final part of qualifying. Had a spin, kept it out of the barriers, went into the pits, put some new tyres on, went back out. He had 4 laps to go, and each lap got quicker than the one before. And right at the end of the session, just as Timo Glock, who'd gone in a lap early, thought he got pole position, he pinched it by 0.06 of a second. Because it's his second pole of the season. He was on pole in the wet rain-affected weekend at the Norris Ring, but this is a proper, genuine, dry weather pole position, and the Mercedes leads them around. But 3 BMWs, Timo Glock, Marco Wittmann, and Augusto Farfus hot on his heels. Timo Glock, who nearly won the race last year, but for some bad luck with a loose wheel. Marco Wittmann, who finished second here last year, so they'll be gunning for him. Audi, as we heard, not having a good day yesterday, apart from Jamie Green, who got in 6th place for Audi Sport Team Rosberg.
So they're the man that actually said at the end of qualifying, just as he was bringing his car into the pit lane, he was looking at the big screens and he could still see his name at the top of the chart, and he thought he'd bagged pole position, only to be denied by Robert Wickens right at the very, very close of the qualifying session. So the Timo Glock starting from P2, and what I suspect Robert Wickens will try and do is he'll blast away from P1 and then try and dive across to close that line, the inside line to the turn 1, which of course is a bit of an uphill drag, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost more about the exit to turn 1 rather than getting into there first, because then it's a drag race all the way up the hill towards a top speed of about 235 kilometres an hour before they brake hard but late, just 100 metres before the corner, get it down to second gear, get it down to 60 kilometres an hour at the top of the crest. You've also got to be quick out of turn 2, because for about 20 or 30 metres out of the corner, it continues to rise before you finally reach the top of the circuit. It's a roller coaster between turns 2 and 3, up and down to Reich curve. There is the view from the top. Look, all the way down there somewhere is the start line. And then, of course, the middle of the lap, down through the left-handers at Pirelli and the Worth curve, and down through the final 2 turns. That's all downhill.
So the Red Bull Ring, 4.3 kilometres, that's where we're at. What a phenomenal racing circuit this is, and what a backdrop for what is going to be a very, very exciting DTM race to come. Wickens, Glock, Wittmann, Farfus, the front 2 rows as the car's weaving from side to side, just trying to get a bit of temperature into those Hankook tyres before they make their way back to the grid. They're on their way now. They'll line up, and then, of course, we'll throw the lights and the gantry up to the top of the screen for you, and we will be away and racing. So Robert Wickens then spinning up the rear wheels as he heads towards his starting position. The anticipation begins to build, not only in the drivers, but also the many, many thousands of spectators that are here to watch this DTM race. We are just seconds away from lights out. The team bosses then, Jens Marquardt from BMW watches on. Dieter Gas then, and Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich from Audi. The final cars making their way to their grid positions. We await the green flag from the marshal right at the rear of the grid. Once we see that, the starting procedure will be on. There goes the green flag. The lights at the top of your screen, as you can see. Once they're out, we are away and racing DTM here at the Red Bull Ring. And Robert Wickens does exactly as I thought he would. Gets away nicely now. He'll try and close off that line. But what a great start Robert Wickens has had. Timo Glock was absolutely nowhere. Pascal Wehrlein getting a good start as well.
Yeah, Augusto Farfus there in third place, Wehrlein fourth, Wittmann fifth, and then the Audi of Jamie Green battling away with Wittmann now, and he's gone just nosed ahead of him for fifth place as they rise up to Remus for the first time.
And this is such a heavy, heavy braking zone as all the cars, concertina there to get through this turn 2 at Remus. 3-4 abreast, Gary Paffett running out onto the outside of the circuit there. Car number 5 under investigation for a jump start.
It's Christian Vittoris. So that's one of the championship front runners.
3 abreast.
Gary Paffett's made a decent start as Mike Rockenfeller, the champion in the green and yellow Audi, trying to fight his way through after this grid place penalty. He only qualified 14th fastest anyway, so he's lost a couple of places here at the start, I think.
Timo Glock also under investigation for an inaccurate grid position, Chris, as we're on board with Christian Vittoris right now. Here comes Robert Wickens. There's Timo Glock under investigation. Augusto Farfus. They approach the final turn to complete the first lap as we look at Joey Hand and Timo Scheider. It's Wickens from Glock, from Farfus, from Wehrlein, Green, Tomczyk, Wittmann, Vittoris, Spengler and Joey Hand. Side by side between Scheider and Joey Hand, and well, Scheider goes through their brilliant move on the part of that man, Timo Scheider, and now Daniel Juncadella, of course, Maxime Martin. They're going to go 3 abreast once again as they head up towards the Remus turn. So important to get the exit of that turn absolutely right, but it's so difficult to nail. So Timo Glock, no further action, as you can see from on the screen, so he can rest assured his P2 at the moment stays that way.
It's Eduardo Matara coming through. Edo having a really poor qualifying. He's 4th in the championship in the Audi, and he starts 21st on the grid. And he and another quick driver, Paul Di Resta, who starts dead last after a crash in free practice. He missed most of free practice and suffered as a result of that in qualifying. They, from the back of the grid, have actually opted to start on the standard tyres. So they're hoping that they can make a bit of a way through the field in the early stages, and they'll hope that the safety car comes out at some point, so those on the quicker option tyres can't get down the road too far in the first part of the race.
On board with Timo Scheider, as sparks flew off the Spengler car ahead of him. And there you can see Spengler and Scheider as we take the run up to turn 1 here. Timo Scheider not quite close enough to Bruno Spengler, but now he'll put the pedal to the metal. There's a kink in the middle of this section that runs up to turn 2. You can see it just about developing now. Slight left-hander, Bruno Spengler hugs the line. Timo Scheider will try and dive up the inside, and he does so. Through, nails the corner perfectly. Bruno Spengler, nothing to answer.
Yeah, good move that. So the former double champion, the 08-09 champion Timo Scheider gains a place ahead of last year's race winner and a former champion himself, Bruno Spengler. That was for 9th position. Remember, lots of the BMWs carrying extra weight. Success ballast has been brought into the championship this season as we see more Audis running side by side here. Eki trying to make his way through the field. Bits of bodywork fly up, and Gary Paffett has lost 2 or 3 places there as a result of that. As we look at the rear-facing onboard, look, Gary Paffett almost back to the back of the field now.
Well, the debris was flying off Paul Di Resta's car. He's already lost enough debris across the course of this weekend so far. Timo Scheider we saw earlier getting past Bruno Spengler. Different tyre choices there, making that very, very easy as Paffett battling there with Vitaly Petrov. 2 Mercedes running together there. No further action for car number 5 either, so Christian Vittoris can rest assured too. There's our race leader, Robert Wickens. There's P2, Timo Glock. Then it's Augusto Farfus, and DRS now gets enabled, and that was the well, it was actually Paffett just tagged the back end of De Resta there.
Yeah, De Resta just getting a clip there, and Gary Paffett, who made a few places up at the start of the race, went settled back into the back, only with Petrov behind him. So last but one for the man who's won more races than anybody else currently racing in the championship. Paffett, 20-time race winner, but having a real nightmare of a season. But look at Robert Wickens go, a bit like he did at the Norris Ring this. He's just off like an absolute train at the head of the field.
Tomczyk and Wittmann absolutely side by side there. And Wittmann there in the Ice Watch car. There is Timo Scheider, who's now got Christian Vittoris firmly in his target sights. We're on lap 3 of 47 here at the Red Bull Ring, this roller coaster circuit. Delivering much excitement already in this race. So racing on board with Timo Scheider. Scheider, one of those from further down the order who preferred to start on those option tyres, which are giving him a huge advantage, as you can see, as he sweeps past Christian Vittoris as well.
Yeah, Christian Vittoris down to 9th place, but Christian is still the leading runner on the harder standard tyres, so he's doing a good job here. Somebody who's made some way through the field on the softer tyres is Martin Tomczyk, the 2011 champion. He sits at BMW from 11th on the grid. He's now up into 6th place.
There's Glock, there's Farfus, and there is Pascal Wehrlein. So we have Mercedes P1 and P4 at the moment as Farfus through on Timo Glock.
Good move that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice and tidy, and Timo Glock didn't fight it too hard. He's having a look at the inside. He's got to watch that youngster behind him as well. 18-year-old Pascal Wehrlein has a good run down towards turn 3 at Rauchkurve. Onto the back of Timo Glock, and look at Farfus go already. He's pulled 3 or 4 car lengths clear.
Yeah, so Timo Glock now, his rearview mirrors are full of that Guix Mercedes driven by Pascal Wehrlein. We go on board with the M-Tech team, who are looking on from the pit perch. There is Farfus, there's Glock in the familiar Deutsche Post livery. Our race leader, Robert Wickens, doing his level best to get as far up the road as he possibly can and get as much advantage from this early stint. He's got a 2-second margin over what would have been Timo Glock, what is now going to be Augusto Farfus. Give you a live gap now, 2.1, so he's found another 10th, but that's more likely brought about by Farfus getting past Glock.
Don't forget the DRS on these cars these days. As long as you're within 2 seconds of the car ahead, you can deploy DRS. So you can't use it to defend, you can use it to attack. You have to be within 2 seconds. And it's not like in Formula 1 where there's a designated area on the track where you can use it. In DTM you can use it anywhere on the lap, but you can only use it once on the lap, and it's deactivated as soon as you hit the brakes. And I'm sure that a lot of the time we're going to see DRS being deployed on that run uphill from turn 1 to turn 2.
Farfus just sets the fastest lap of the race so far. So we're expecting that gap to come down to Robert Wickens, Antonio Felix da Costa, and there we can see the Schaeffler car of Mike Rockenfeller from this fantastic low-down onboard rearward-facing shot from Antonio Felix da Costa's car.
Gary Paffett was the one that just got ahead of him, so he started to pick his way back through the order here in the blue and yellow Mercedes, the 2005 champion. Accelerates away, looking back from da Costa's car and looking back at Mike Rockenfeller near the back of the field here, and struggling a little bit in this race, but he is on the standard tyre and he will have the quicker tyre once he comes in to make his mandatory pit stop.
Now 4-5 tenths Farfus has pulled out of Robert Wickens as we look at a replay of the start.
Yeah, they were looking at Vittoris was one they were looking at, wasn't it? The silver and black Mercedes from the 4th row of the grid, but he timed it, it seems, to perfection. He hooked up the start very well, not as well as Pascal Wehrlein and Robert Wickens, who both made really, really good starts. Paffett made a good start. Look, he made a couple of places up into the first corner as well before his problem. But look at Robert Wickens at the head of the pack, Dave. That was nailed on, wasn't it? That perfect start for the pole sitter.
Exactly what he needed to do in terms of getting away. I thought he would go and hug the inside line, but he didn't do that. He got enough margin, hadn't he, to take a nice smooth line through turn 1.
Yeah, good job by the Canadian that. This is on board with Vittoris, who they're looking at for the start, but He didn't jump the start, and there's no further action being taken. Pretty crammed into that first corner, but they all gave each other just enough space, didn't they? The option to run wide as well over the curbs through that first turn. And this is on board with Felix da Costa. This just happened a few seconds ago. A little tap from behind from Molly there.
Okay, so 5/10 he took out of Robert Wickens' lead last time around. What has Farfus managed to do is taken some more time out. Farfus is on a charge here. And Robert Wickens now with a margin significantly lower than it was just a couple of laps ago. And he's going to have a fight on his hand with Augusto Farfus in just a lap or so's time. So too probably Timo Glock, with Pascal Wehrlein getting ever closer. Jamie Green goes through. There's Marco Wittmann. So Wickens leads, and there you can see the difference over the last 3 laps between Wickens and Augusto Farfus. Farfus, of course, has got the benefit of being able to use the DRS.
Yep.
And Robert Wickens can't.
Yeah, because he crossed the line within 2 seconds. So he's only about a second behind, using the DRS to close the gap. The top 6 then, top 7, no, top 8 now, all running on the softer tyre. They're the best of the drivers on the standard tyre, who should then go quicker in the second part of the race. Is still Christian Vittoris in 9th place, Bruno Spengler likewise in 10th, and Joey Hand in 11th. And from 20th on the grid, the Audi of Adrian Tombe has risen very nicely up the order. He's now into 12th place, so Adrian has gained already lots of places in this race, but he's on the softer tyre, a bit like Martin Tomczyk. He's gone forward, but he's going to have to put the standard tyre on for the second part of the race.
So we're watching Mike Rockenfeller there down in P21, backdrop of this fantastic Spielberg circuit. Those brilliant onboard shots that we're able to give you. Vitaly Petrov that we were looking at. Okay, Augusto Farfus not quite close enough, I don't think, to have a charge at this turn. Perhaps he is. Got mighty close. Robert Wickens leads this race, but he is being hounded down now by Augusto Farfus, who has the benefit of DRS. Of course, Robert Wickens doesn't have that benefit. He's not within 2 seconds of anyone ahead of him. He can't use it, but Augusto Farfus can. And down to 8/10 the last time they crossed the timing line. So Robert Wickens knows that that rearview mirror of his is going to be full of the Castrol Edge BMW of Augusto Farfus in just a matter of seconds' time. And Robert just a little bit ragged there, wasn't he, as he took a little bit of grass from just over the curb. He knows that Farfus is coming. Matter of when or if, and head through the final turn, and now across the timing line. Here comes Robert Wickens, and in hot pursuit, just 6/10 behind, is Augusto Farfus to turn 1. That big uphill section into turn 1, the right-hander. Now this long drag all the way towards turn 2. The Remus turn, and Farfus really is reeling him in now. You can see the DRS was deployed. As soon as he hits the brake pedal, the rear wing flips back up again.
Yeah, starting to apply the pressure. Augusto Farfus, 3 wins for the Brazilian last season, en route to 2nd place in the championship behind Mike Rockenfeller, but no wins at all so far this season. He's down in 13th place in the championship. His best result has been a 5th place finish, so the Team RBM man will be absolutely desperate for a win. This is the start of the second half of the season, and anything is still possible the way the points work and the way not many drivers have been able to put consistent results together so far this season. So 1 or 2 wins and suddenly you're back in the championship hunt.
Well, it's remarkable that, you know, when you look at the points table, and Augusto Farfus is down there P13 in the points at the moment.
Yeah.
You would have never said that on the form of last season, but, well, everything is very, very close here in the DTM, as you have indicated. Around the final turn once again. There's Robert Wickens then, who leads. It was 6/10 the last time across the timing line. It is now 4/10 as another couple have gone the way of Augusto Farfus, as he just slowly ekes out the margin that Robert Wickens had. Now this is where the DRS will be deployed, I would think, around the kink up towards that top. You can see the rear wing has gone down. Augusto Farfus dives to the outside of Robert Wickens. Now Robert needs a perfect exit through here to defend the line. Farfus won't have the grunt, I wouldn't think, to get him on the switchback and up the inside. He didn't, but now this is a fast section of the circuit because we're beginning to go downhill as well.
I'll keep an eye on Timo Glock and Pascal Wehrlein, 3rd and 4th as well. They were a couple of tenths quicker than the top 2 last time around. So the gap's starting to close up from first, not just to second, but from 1st to 4th positions.
So still at the moment, Robert Wickens is able to defend that position, but Augusto Farfus, coolly, calmly and collectively, is looking at every opportunity now and harrying Robert Wickens ahead of him. It's Mercedes versus BMW here at the Red Bull Ring in the early stages of this DTM race in Austria. There, the free man's liveried Robert Wickens car. Jamie Green. There's Timo Scheider. Here they come, crossing the start-finish line again. And Augusto Farfus now takes another tenth away from Robert Wickens. So just, as I've said, quietly, calmly, he's doing the business, isn't he? And it's here where he will have a go.
As close as he's ever been, this is his chance, but Robert Wickens, I'm sure, will hold the racing line and make the Brazilian try and go around the outside into Remus. Closes up, but he needs to be even closer, doesn't he, coming out of the first turn?
A yellow flag in the next turn that they're going to approach, turn 3. For this reason, Antonio Felix da Costa, the BMW Team M-Tech driver, up against the barriers there. And he's out of the car. That's da Costa's race over with. Now, I would have said where that car is, unless it can be snatched away very quickly, Chris.
Are we thinking about a safety car now? Was it a moment or was it a technical failure? Technical, I thought so, the way it pulled over where it was. Yeah, it's had a technical problem with that car. So the BMW pulled across, and Antonio Felix da Costa, the 22-year-old Portuguese driver, started the season with some really quick performances at Hockenheim. Made a mistake at Hockenheim in the race, but he was mightily quick and could well have finished on the podium. But out of the race, bit of a disappointing weekend for him. The top 2 then go through. Getting closer and closer to the pit window as well. The mandatory one stop that they have to make in the middle third of the race, which today is between laps 16 and 31. That's when the pit stop window will be open for the mandatory stops, and then everybody's changed tyres as here comes Augusto Farfus once again, closer than he's been now, almost alongside the rear wing of Robert Wickens. Robert covers the inside line, runs a little bit wide coming out of the corner. Augusto Farfus tries to get his foot in the door here, but Wickens covers off the line, Dave.
He is having to defend so very hard from Augusto Farfus. The whole approach to that overtake attempt from our helicopter was absolutely fantastic, and we're continuing that right now as they go around the next turn, turn 3. There is Robert Wickens. Augusto Farfus doing absolutely everything he can to try and find a way past Robert Wickens. He dives up the inside. Not quite. He was committed, but he just didn't carry quite enough speed. But now he's going to try again. Wickens tries to close the door, but it's full of BMW. Farfus is going to do it. He runs Wickens out just a little bit wide, but Wickens is committed. He's not going to let him get away with it. This is brilliant stuff.
He's got the line as well for the next corner, Robert Wickens, the right-hander. Great stuff. He just gritted his teeth and hung on there. And despite the fact that BMW got its nose in front, he still leads. But look how much closer 3rd and 4th have now become.
You called that just a few moments ago. You're absolutely right. They're going to be joining in this party in a moment. But Robert Wickens has got his rearview mirrors full of that Augusto Farfus car. Now, Farfus on the run up to Remus. For sure he's going to try again. Up to turn 2. Timo Glock and Pascal Wehrlein pretty close behind as well. Here he goes. He looks to the outside again. Heavy braking from both of them. Farfus will go and try the switchback now to try and get up alongside Wickens, but Wickens once again closes the door.
It's not over yet, though. We've seen some audacious attempts into the left-handers, haven't we, on the previous lap from Augusto Farfus. Will he try something similar out of this turn, coming out of Reichkurve? The 2 left-handers coming up at Pirelli. The 3rd gear corner, and downhill into the second left-hand of the Worth curve, taken at 4th gear, about 115 kilometres an hour. Not quite as close this time, is he? So tucks in 2nd place. Looking at the difference in lap times between those on the softer tyres and those on the standard tyres, looks like there's about 2 seconds a lap difference between them. We need to bear that in mind when, of course, they all switch tyres for the second half of the race, and invariably gaps are going to start to close. Those on the standard tyres are caught. Replay of this tremendous battle then, Dave.
Oh, it was absolutely phenomenal, and we got the build-up to it absolutely perfectly. That's where Farfus got right alongside Wickens, and Wickens said, oh, no, you don't. Look, he was even run out onto the grass at one point there, but absolutely kept his foot in. His resolve was stiffened like never before, and he remained absolutely committed to his line. And to be fair, through that commitment, he was able to hold off that challenge, wasn't he? Remarkable how he managed to do it, but he did it. And fair play to Robert Wickens for doing that, and still he's under this immense pressure. Look at this.
Lots of warnings coming up for drivers failing to manage yellow flags, which is car number 15 has been given one such warning. That's Edo Matara. Number 19 has been given one such warning for yellow flags, which is Daniel Hunkadea. Number 24, which is Maxime Martin, has been given a similar warning as well. And Joey Hand, number 4 drivers.
Just look at this train of cars. The top 8 are within 5 seconds of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at it. Absolutely remarkable racing, isn't it? There is Timo Scheider, who's on the back of that train, if you like. And each and every one of them desperate to go further up the order. Christian Vittoris is the best driver, as you have said, on the standard tyre, and well, he's 21 seconds down the road from the leader.
He is, but when he gets the softer tyres on, he's going to be going 2 seconds a lap quicker than everybody he's trying to catch. It's going to be a race of 2 halves, as we've seen all year long in DTM. So Vittoris, the leading driver, in 11th place on the standard tyre at the moment. Spengler in 12th, Hand in 13th. He's also on those tyres. And then you've got Danny Hunkadella, 14th, he's on the option tyre. And in 15th place is Maxime Martin, who is on the standard tyre, the 4th best driver on the standard tyres. So almost into that pit window opening now. After 16 laps, between 16 and 31 laps, they'll have to make a mandatory single pit stop.
We're on board with Timo Scheider, who has that long line ahead of him, and this is fantastic to bring it to you from the heli point of view, as we're advised that car number 22, Nico Muller, who was under investigation, gets a drive-through penalty. Also getting a drive-through penalty is car number 4, that of Joey Hand. So the race steward ruling with that rod of iron.
Yeah. Disappointing weekend for Nico Muller in his first season of the championship. In qualifying yesterday, he suffered a technical failure, an electrical problem, which took his power steering out, so he didn't get very far into qualifying. And now his race has been compromised with this visit to the pits, drive-through penalty.
They're coming through thick and fast now as well, because Danny Hunkadella gets a drive-through penalty. So too does Maxime Martin, and they're coming up on the screen like a ticker tape now. Also getting one is car number 15, also getting a drive-through penalty, Edo Mortara. So there you are, have them all on screen as well. Just for the moment, Chris, the Wickens-Farfus battle has eased off a bit, because Wickens has eked out 6/10 over Augusto Farfus. We're at the back of that 8-car train, if you like, with Timo Scheider here, heading up towards that Remus turn. Here come those cars to serve their drive-through penalty. Doing it in unison, aren't they?
Yeah, and it was the yellow flag, of course, of Antonio Felix da Costa's stricken car, which is the one they all ignored. And, of course, they can see exactly what drivers are doing with all the data that's available to the stewards and the officials, and the lap times and the sector times, and they realised that these guys didn't slow down enough for the yellow flags, and as a result of that, they've all now compromised their races. That with Timo Scheider. He's been hunting down Martin Tomczyk here. So 2 of our former champions, Timo Scheider, the last man to win back-to-back titles. It's looking increasingly unlikely. Well, you never know that Mike Rockefeller's going to match the feat of Timo Scheider. Timo driving well here and starting to close the gap to Martin Tomczyk. This is the battle for 7th place.
Here, though, is the battle for 1st place. Robert Wickens, who last time around had 6/10 over Augusto Farfus. And this time around, Farfus has pulled another couple of tenths back out of Robert Wickens, and Timo Glock is now within sight as well. He's just 9 tenths down. So all of these cars are involved in this battle effectively, aren't they? Spread across just 4.3 seconds, the top 8 here. And we're on the back of that with Timo Scheider at the moment. Great to see those cars running up to the Remus turn. It looks like Farfus is closer than ever before to Robert Wickens, just as we were looking from that onboard shot. Also taken a drive through there, Nico Muller.
Looking at those on the standard tyres as well, Dave, Vitoris in 11th place. He's only just 8 tenths of a second clear of Bruno Spengler. So the Mercedes just fending off the BMW at the moment. And that could be important when we move into the second half of the race. Pit window, no Albon.
So once again on board with Timo Scheider. It's Wickens, there you see him, Farfus, then it's Timo Glock. The three-man's liveried car of Robert Wickens remains in the lead, 4/10 margin over Augusto Farfus last time over the timing line. So as you've said, Chris, with the pit window open now. Wickens, Farfus, Glock. Wehrlein, great showing from Wehrlein. Then there's a little bit of a gap back, isn't there, before we get Green, Wittmann, Tomczyk and Timo Scheider. Farfus now, again, just turns the wick up a little bit more on Robert Wickens.
Marco Wittmann doing a good job to hang on here, because the championship leader is carrying more weight than anybody else, more success ballast. His car is 7.5 kilograms heavier than some of the cars around him, so doesn't sound a lot, but when you consider that the top 6 in qualifying yesterday were covered by less than 1/10 of a second, every thousandth, every hundredth that you can gain matters, and that extra weight that he carries out of the corners and of course under braking will have an effect on the BMW as a result of the success of him and the team in recent races.
Now Timo Glock is right on to Augusto Farfus, and Pascal Wehrlein is taking advantage of that as well. Here is Scheider at the back of that train. The top 8 now, just 4.2 spreads across all 8 of them. Or somebody runs off into the dust there. Might have been Jamie Green, might have been Marco Wittmann. There from our heli you can see the race leader, Robert Wickens. There's Augusto Farfus, who's now just gone back a little bit because Timo Glock is even closer to him, but he dives in. I'm sure I saw Augusto Farfus dive in.
Let's have a look, we'll wait and see. Yep, you're absolutely right. So the first front runner, the first person to come in and make their pit stops. By the way, Garrick Paffett has risen to 12th place now, but he's on the softer tyres and he's going to go slower in the second stint. Look at this, 3 seconds on the nose for the tyre change. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely matching anything you see in Formula 1. That. Then he changed the tyres these days. No refuelling like we had historically in DTM. So Farfus changed his tyres. He now, of course, is on the standard tyre. Expect him to be going about 2 seconds a lap slower than he was for the first 17, 18 laps of the race.
So Farfus taking the decision to dive in and be the very first to dive in to take his mandatory pit stop and get the standard tyres on as he goes around turn 2. So now Robert Wickens perhaps just momentarily can breathe a sigh of relief. Timo Glock not far behind him. It'd be interesting to see when the rest of the what was the 8 decide to dive in. So it's Wickens, Glock, Wehrlein, the top 3 now.
Since the circuit, which was originally the Österreich ring, built in 1917, then the A1 ring after that, since it was reopened as the Red Bull ring in the new guise in 2011, and DTM actually was the first major event to come and race at the Red Bull ring. Since then, Mercedes have not had a win at this circuit. They've had a couple of podiums, Gary Paffett, and the best result was a second place finish in 2011 for Ralf Schumacher, but they could be on for their first win here, with Robert Wickens, of course, leading the race for them. Timo Glock, though, in the BMW in second. Pascal Wehrlein, another Mercedes, going well in third place. Jamie Green, still by a long way, the best of the Audis, Dave, in fourth now.
Yes, 1.5 seconds off the leader is Jamie Green. Wittmann, the championship leader, is P5. Then it is Tomczyk, Timo Scheider, Adrian Tombe up to P8 now, and Augusto Farfus filtered back in and is at P9 at the moment, ahead of Christian Vitoris.
So that's interesting. Yeah, Farfus has got in ahead of Vitoris, who's going to have to make a pit stop and then try and catch him, of course, with the quicker tyre on.
Quicker tyre, yep.
Well, looking to controlling things, but not getting away from anybody. And I don't corner of Jamie Green's car. I mean, he's not going to have gained that much in the pit stop. I think it's been more about Jamie's own driving, his in-lap and his out-lap. I mean, his in-lap must have been spectacular. So terrific stuff to lead the race. And that's a little off there for Di Resta, I think. Just at the back end of that. Looks like he's had a moment, Paul Di Resta.
Wickens also under investigation now for an unsafe release.
Joey Hand giving him a little tap, I think. Right, Christian Vittoris has come into the pits. Bruno Spengler has come into the pits. So the top two who have been on the standard tyres are now going to switch to the quicker tyres, and they're going to be chasing down that lead group for the remainder of the race. Rockefeller's in, Joey Hand has come in as well. So they're very busy down there in the pits. That Icky, I think, has come in as well, hasn't he? Such was the advantage of the softer tyres, Dave, that lead group were all able to make their pit stops and come out still as the lead group ahead of those on the harder tyres before they made their stops.
So Christian Vittoris up the inside of Paul di Resta. There's Vitaly Petrov, there's Gary Paffett. Poor Paul di Resta's really been in the wars this weekend, hasn't he, for one reason and another.
As he said in qualifying yesterday, he's not actually raced here before, because DTM, he won the title in 2010, then went to Formula 1. DTM didn't come here till 2011 when the circuit reopened. So he could have done with that free practice. He missed most of it with the crash, didn't he? Into the barriers out of turn 8 in free practice. And Pascal Wehrlein having to concede, or almost concede, to Adrian Tombe, and there's again bits of bodywork flying off there. So Green leads, Farfus second, Wickens third, Glock fourth, Whitman the championship leader fifth, Tomczyk sixth, seventh is Timo Scheider, Wehrlein in eighth, Tombe in ninth. They're all now for the second phase of the race going to be on the standard tyre, the slower tyre.
On board with Timo Scheider, with the sight that he's seen for a long while, hasn't he? The back end of that Martin Tomczyk car. There's Christian Vittoris.
Last two drivers to make their pit stops in front of the commentary box are di Resta and Petrov, so they come in and make their pit stops now. So how far back is Vittoris? 29.6 seconds, 2 seconds a lap quicker, you'd think. Maybe at least a second and a half a lap quicker. And we've got 22 laps to go. I think he's got just about time to do this, but it depends how quickly he can get through the traffic. It's all well and good having the quicker lap times, but of course you've got to get past the cars in the first place.
Yes. Well, it will unfold, and we will see. We're looking forward from this car at Gary Paffett. There is Paffett on board with Matthias Ekström. Just for a moment, that low-down splitter cam giving us the view of Gary Paffett ahead. There is Bruno Spengler. Turn 7, head down towards turn 8, on board with Matthias Ekström. It's a real dip down there on the inside line as they head now to cross the timing line.
And
Wehrlein
into the pits, into the garage. Pascal Wehrlein. I saw him come past the commentary box and thought for a moment maybe he got a drive-through penalty, but nothing was on the screen. But he's got a problem with the car. Real shame. Car 21 under investigation for use of option tyre.
Jamie Green.
What does that mean? Well, he started the race on the option tyre like everybody else in that lead group.
You stay out on it too long.
Well, looking at the lap time of Christian Vittoris, 1:26.5, was only about half a second quicker than those in that lead group.
I think he used it too long. And I think that's why we saw that. If you remember, we saw that train of cars coming in, didn't we?
All together,
and Jamie didn't do that. Car number 12 gets a drive-through penalty now for unsafe release. That's Robert Wickens. So it's fairly ruined his chances, but Jamie Green under investigation. So Robert Wickens, who is on track, P3 at the moment, gets a drive-through penalty for an unsafe release. So
rules state that you can only use the option tyre for 50% of the race distance. That's what they're looking at.
Surely.
Came in a lap later than everybody else,
Yeah,
didn't he, in that lead group, but only a lap later. And, well, it's 47 lap race, so that 23, 24 is when you need to do it, isn't it? So they're looking into that. That'd be a huge shame, wouldn't it, for Jamie Green if that was the case. It's going to be by a whisker. So he leads for the time being, but under investigation. Farfus in second, Wickens in third. They're all on the same pace here.
Yep.
Low 127s on these tyres.
Vitoris now 13 seconds behind where are we? 28 seconds. He's P9, isn't he?
Not taking sort of chunks out of them that I thought he would be at the moment.
26.367 last time around. There is Jamie Green then, who well, leads at the moment, but is under investigation.
And this looks like a move, doesn't it?
That was
Bruno Spengler.
from a long way back, that wasn't it?
About 2 or 3 lengths back, wasn't he, on Gary Paffett there? Gary tried to turn in on him. Suddenly there was a black BMW in the way. Light contact, shouldn't be any dramas there. So Green, Farfus, Wickens, Glock, the top 4. Whitman, 5th. Tomczyk, 6th. Timo Scheider.
He's getting a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
He's got a drive-through.
Jamie Green. So Jamie Green has just, by a whisker, stayed out too long on those option tyres. Just over the 50% rule. And he's going to be called in for a drive-through, which is going to scupper his chances altogether. And it means, Dave, that the man in second place will become the new race leader, looking for his first win of the season, Augusto Farfus. Robert Wickens will back up to second place for Mercedes, and Timo Glock will be there in third place.
Of course, Wickens still got to serve a drive-through as well.
So Jamie Green. Yes, that's true. So it'll effectively, when all this sorts out, it'll be Farfus, then Glock, and then Whitman in third place. Yeah. There again, the championship leader. So yeah, one bad race so far this season, hasn't he? 2 wins, a 4th, a 6th. This one's going well. Only the 19th place at Oschersleben. And he got nerfed off. That was a low point in the season so far. And the man nearest to him in the championship, Matthias Ekström, is back in 10th place at the moment, but on the option tyre and closing in on Christian Vitoris to become the first of the option tyre runners, possibly. They're 9th and 10th, Vitoris and Ekström. Ekström is 3.5 seconds behind him, but he's quite a bit quicker at the moment and closing the gap. We saw that in the first race at Hockenheim, didn't we? Ekström was one of the drivers charging through the field in the second half of the race, and he came through, eventually finishing second place, the first of 3 podiums that he's had this year.
Well, Farfus would be foolish to make any daredevil moves at the moment, wouldn't he, knowing that Green is going to have to dive in. There's absolutely no point him blistering away at that. He knows the cars, well, in front and behind him are going to have to go in and serve a drive-through penalty. Jamie Green, the first of those. And there, Marco Wittmann, well, the championship leader. It's all coming to him a bit, isn't it?
Past Glock, good move. DRS helping that out, but Marco Wittmann moving ahead. And there's Timo Scheider closing up to the back of that group as well, to the tail of Tomczyk. Team orders, we think that might be. Jamie Green in then. I think he came in on lap 24, didn't he? Well, 47 laps, 23 and a half laps.
Well, you can't do half a lap.
You can't do half a lap, so they'll argue like that was the first time we could have come in, and they've misinterpreted the rules there, I suppose. That's why everybody else dived in on lap 23.
Of course.
And of course he would have crossed the line within the pits as well, so that was another thing. So Jamie Green comes out away from that lead group now. Oh, look at this, Wickens and Farfus again. They got a bit close for company a few times today, this pair, haven't they?
But, well,
still hasn't been in, has he, Robert Wickens? He still says on the screen, drive-through penalty.
He's definitely got a drive-through penalty. I cannot believe.
He's going to have to come in on this lap, I would have thought. It must be 3 laps now that he's had that.
For sure.
That side. So Robert Wickens on the screen says needs to come in and serve a penalty for an unsafe release, which we saw when he squeezed Timo Glock. So he's getting on with it now, try and pull away from them. And Farfus probably didn't fight that too hard, actually, did he? Because he may well know about all of this.
Exactly. So that, I'm convinced that's why he wasn't trying too hard on Jamie Green, because what would be the point? Knew that he'd got to serve that drive-through penalty.
And likewise, we reckon Glock I mean, has to make way for Whitman, maybe, as their main man in the championship, of course. Well, Robert Wickens has stayed out again.
He has stayed out. I'm convinced he's done 3 laps.
Maybe they're trying to argue the point and telling him to stay out while they have the conversation with the organisers. Anyway, he's got his head down and he's 1.1 seconds clear at the moment from Augusto Farfus. Marco Wittmann in 3rd place, then Timo Glock 4th. Martin Tomczyk going really well here in 5th place. 6th is Timo Scheider. Jamie Green, there he is in the background, 7th. What Jamie now needs is a safety car, isn't it, to bunch them all up. Then he'll have another chance at them. And meanwhile, Matthias Ekström is now only 2.9 seconds behind Christian Vitrus, the 2 that are charging through, the top 2 on the softer tyres, as another BMW makes way for Marco Wittmann. Didn't look like he fought that too hard either, did it? So Wittmann would effectively become the race leader, wouldn't he, if Wickens now has to go to the pits. There's no team orders though between Farfus and Timo Glock, is there?
Appear to be,
or Martin Tomczyk. They're having their own race, but I think it's pretty obvious there that Wittmann is the one that's leading the championship, so let him go please, and he can now pick up the lead of the race. Look at this.
They've had some... There's been some panel rubbing between them two over the course of this race, hasn't there?
You speak to them, they're both calm, mild-mannered men, aren't they? The Canadian and the Brazilian. You wouldn't think they'd race like that, but stick a helmet on them and away they go. And Farfus left the door open there, didn't he?
Well, it's very interesting that our director showed us that shot of the Mercedes pit perch on the radio, presumably talking to race control. Oh, no!
Car 12. Wickens, black flag for Dave. Non-respect of the drive-through penalty.
We called that right, didn't we? We knew he'd done 3 laps. Oh, I'm convinced they were talking to race control, saying, come on, you know, trying to appeal it or do whatever. But no, and there we see that shot again.
So, I mean, the team have clearly said to Robert, stay out, we're trying to discuss this. Don't come in yet while we discuss it. Officials are having none of it. And now, because he hasn't come in within 3 laps of seeing that warning for the drive-through penalty, Robert Wickens is going to be out of the race. Black flagged. Mercedes' dreams have shattered, haven't they? Because they lost Pascal Wehrlein earlier on with a technical problem as well. He was the other one that could have got on the podium for them. It's gone very, very wrong. And very, very right now for BMW.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, Marco Wittmann. Right, we're back on board with Timo Scheider. How much more drama can we take in this race?
I don't know, about another 14 or 15 laps worth, I reckon.
Now,
we've still got the Chargers to watch for as well, haven't we?
Black flag will be shown to him now.
Heart-sinking moment for the Canadian. Well, come what may, he has driven very well. This is the reason. Unsafe release right into the path of the man he was battling with for the lead of the race. Glock had to back off. I don't know, you can understand why they released him. If they'd held him, he wouldn't just have lost 1 place, he'd have lost 4, wouldn't he? Because they were all in together, that lead group.
And look at the arguments going on there. The Deutsche Post, a runner there who delivers the penalty, and, well, he's been back flagged. Doesn't look to me like he's slowing up much.
It's a very grey area, that, isn't it? I mean, they're all racing together. The lead group are all in together. They all make 3-second pit stops, and they're all coming out together, trying to beat each other in the pits. It's for the lead of the race. It's for the win. It's for big stakes. Are you really going to hold him there? Because if you hold him there to let Glock go, you're going to have to let the whole lot go.
You're gonna have
4 or 5 of them. They're all together. Yeah, and of course he'd led before. He'd led them going in. So that I can completely understand why Mercedes are most upset about this. But that's the rule. They'll have to accept it. We'll have to accept it. But you can completely see why. And that man's done nothing wrong. The race driver has done a very good job this weekend. But he's going to get nothing for it, is he? Absolutely nothing for it. Driven very well once again this weekend. He's led the way as he's done so often this season for Mercedes. But his race is now over. And he's going to be absolutely fuming. So, into the lead of the race goes Marco Wittmann. Farfus will be second, Glock will be third. And that's the top 3, all BMWs. Exactly like the result we had last year. Tomczyk, another BMW, will be promoted to 4th. And then the Audis of Timo Scheider and Jamie Green. And a conversation now about to take place between Robert and the team. What's going on, he's saying.
Well, you can understand why and how disgruntled Robert Wickens must feel.
No, you can't argue it now. You're out.
He wasn't hanging about into the pit lane, was he?
Just pure frustration, that. Pure
Trouble is,
frustration.
You know. Well, here is our race leader now, Marco Wittmann, who also is the championship leader. Went into this with a 20-point margin over Matthias Ekström, who is currently P10. Still, where are we? A bit behind Vitoris, isn't he?
Most drivers who win the championship tend to get 3 wins, no more. If it stays like this, Marco's already got 3 wins with 4 races still to go. It's looking good, isn't it? What about Ekström and Vitoris? The gap's coming down, but not by that much, is it? He's 2.6 behind. They'll go up to 8th and 9th respectively now. Vitoris is 18 seconds behind the leader. So the gap is coming down, just not as ferociously as I thought it might. I'll tell you what, though, you only take a safety car, Dave, and those guys in the softer tyres will be rubbing their hands together. But Vitoris has still got a chance of a podium, certainly a top 4 or 5 finish here, and he's taking Ekström with him, and Spengler's only half a second behind Ekström as well. Spengler is the quickest driver on the track at the moment, 126.1, or one of the quickest drivers, because Molyneux's going well as well. He's a little bit quicker, he's on the option tyre. So you've got these cars, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th, all chasing down this lead group. And here is Christian Vitoris. There's a bit of a queue behind him as well, as you'll see fairly shortly.
Right, Wolfgang Schattling then, and perhaps he can give us a true explanation of Robert Wickens down there with Verena.
Yes, let's hope for that. Wolfgang Schattling, what was going on there? Obviously there was a drive-through penalty which you didn't accept. However, in the end he got black flagged because you didn't get him in. Was that a management mistake? Why did you decide to do it that
In our opinion, this was definitely not an unsafe release. Everybody could see it on TV. So we tried to convince the stewards that it was not, but in the end he had to.
And in the end it cost him the race.
But in the end he got the black flag, and we have to respect this.
Big shame. Thank you very much, Wolfgang Schattling. Back to you guys.
Thanks for being right on top of that so very quickly as well. Didn't expect to hear from Wolfgang Schattling, didn't expect to hear from Robert Wickens, but, well, interesting Wolfgang Schattling there saying, as far as they were concerned, you can see it on TV, it wasn't an unsafe release. Well, depends how you look at that, to be honest. You know, they're repealing that decision, trying to get the stewards to perhaps reverse that decision, and in so doing, left him out there too long. He didn't take the drive-through penalty, therefore black flag.
Yeah, well, the top 5 all coming together, and they're all nose to tail. And they're all going to do the same at pit stop time within a few tenths of each other. They're all going to come out into each other's paths, aren't they? What did they expect? And he was the leader going into all of that. He wasn't going to give it away, was he? No. But anyway, as he said, everybody has to accept it and respect it, not necessarily like it. Now, Jamie Green, how's he getting on in 7th place? No, he's not as quick as that lead group. So, Christian Vitoris starting to try and work his way through. Daniel Gadea likewise in this group. Daniel Gadeo gave us the onboard lap earlier on. He's currently running in 16th place. Maxime Martin behind him, the winner at Moscow. It's a good little tussle going on here. 10 laps to go at the end of this one.
So Wittmann then has a 1.4 second margin over Augusto Farfus as he comes into shot right now. Our race leader, the Ice Watch BMW driver, is Marco Wittmann. He's also the championship leader. There's Augusto Farfus, P2, then Glock, P3. Well, may I say, recall the race here last year in terms of manufacturer domination, Chris. And we have Wittmann, Farfus, Glock, and now Tom Chick as well, the top 4. Then it's Timo Scheider, then Tombe Green, Vitoris, Ekstrom and Spengler the top 10.
Only about half a second or so quicker than the lead group. The Chargers on the softer tyres, whereas the cars in the lead group, when they're on the softer tyres, were more like 2 seconds a lap quicker. So I just don't think that Vitoris and Eki, I don't think the Mercedes and the Audi have got the pace to catch this lead group now. Their only hope, as I say, is if there were to be a safety car and they've got the quicker tyre and they're suddenly onto the tail of that lead group.
Yes.
So there was the orange Audi of Green going through in 7th, the last of that lead pack, which is running on the slower tyre now, and this is Christian Vitoris, and that's the gap that he's got to try and close. It's quite a task he faces, isn't it?
Yes. So here comes our race leader then, Marco Wittmann, BMW, Augusto Farfus, BMW, Timo Glock, BMW, and then Tomczyk, before we see this man, Timo Scheider. On board with Timo Scheider, who truthfully has looked at the back end of that BMW for lap after lap after lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, nothing between them, is there? Absolutely nothing between them. Tomczyk can't get away, Scheider can't quite close the gap. It was just that one moment, wasn't there, at Remus, at the second corner, where there was a slight twitch from Tomczyk, and there was half a chance for Scheider, but it wasn't really a proper chance, and that's the only time he's been able to have a go. It's Maxime Martin. He's now having a go. The Belgian trying to get his BMW through here, and he might just about be able to do it. Although he's on the outside line as they go through the next corner, he loses a place as Hunkadea gets past him. So trying to get Muller, he loses a place to Hunkadea. Those three together behind them. In 18th place is Paul de Resta.
The battle here between Muller, Juncadella, Martin, battling over P15. Just up the road a bit is that man, Gary Paffett, P14.
Thread it through the needle there, wasn't he, Hunkadea?
That's where Martin got right alongside Juncadella.
It's all up at turn 2, isn't it? All the action. Just kissing the curbs then. 4th gear through here. And then winding their way towards the last 2 turns through Rindt and then through the Red Bull Mobile curve. And they're still huddled together here.
That's 3.
Martin still with his nose in front. And then Hunkadea trying to get in between him and Muller. And he might just have a go here. He's going to be on the wrong line though for the next corner. A little nudge there. And Hunkadea will try and squeeze through on the inside if a gap opens up, but it doesn't. That allows Martin to pull away from them now. So Maxime Martin in his 15th place now, isn't he? Behind Paffett. It's up to 15th position for the Belgian. Out of the points though.
Danny Juncadella.
What's going on, he says. What's all this about?
Well, Wittmann last time around over the timing line had got a 1.7 margin over Augusto Farfus. And here from on board with Maxime Martin, up the inside of Nico Muller. This in replay for you.
Muller and Hunkadea, of course, were 2 that served drive-through penalties earlier on for not respecting the yellow flags, weren't they? So they've had a lively race already. It's Timo Glock in 3rd position for BMW on course for his first podium visit of the season.
P5, Timo Scheider, whose view ahead of him hasn't changed very much over the last I don't know how many laps. He is 5/10 behind the car of Tomczyk, just ahead of him. But it's always maintained that margin, hasn't it? And Scheider just not, apart from the one opportunity that you mentioned that he'd had earlier in the race. Here comes our race leader.
Vitoris is homing in now on green, isn't he, for 7th place. Green on the harder tyre, of course, having had that drive through himself. Vitoris on the softer, quicker tyre. A 127.0 for Green, a 126.396 for Vitoris. So he's 6 or 7 tenths quicker. And the gap from 7th to 8th is down to less than 3 seconds now. A couple more laps and he'll be with him.
So what have we got? 6 laps left to run. That's the margin between Wittmann and Vitoris. It was a huge ask, wasn't it? And it was never likely to happen. Wittmann there leading 1.4 seconds over Augusto Farfus. Not going to be challenged by Farfus as he is. They head towards the closing stages of this race. It's going to cement his position at the top of the championship table. Head off next to the Nürburgring in just a couple of weeks' time as the DTM season continues. We're back on board with Timo Scheider, giving that Phoenix Audi absolutely everything he can, but just isn't able to get on terms that will allow an overtake on Tomczyk. Dives into the curb. Super slow-mo here of our race leader, Marco Wittmann. Out onto the AstroTurf, but crucially keeping 2 wheels the right side of the white line. That's acceptable. It's when all 4 wheels go over that white line, you could be in trouble. And Jens Marquardt nods his approval of the way Marco Wittmann is driving out front. Maxime Martin now on the back of Gary Paffett.
Yeah, this is the battle going over the start-finish line now for 14th place. Gary Paffett being reeled in by the BMW Maxime Martin. And Maxime is now going to be deploying his DRS. Gary won't be able to do that because there's nobody just in front of him. So Maxime Martin will have a big go here on the run up towards Remus. But Gary, I'm sure, will know what's coming. Can he defend the position? Is he able to? No. The BMW comes through. And Gary tries to fight back on the way out of the corner, but Maxime Martin gains the place. So that puts him now up to 14th position. It's a long gap, though, up to the points, isn't there?
So you could see Maxime Martin deploying the DRS, and as you rightly said, Gary had got no defence against that, had he? Got no one ahead of him where he could use the DRS and almost use it in defence. Wasn't going to happen. Let's see it on board from Maxime Martin. Bosch. DRS gets deployed on the run up to this Remus turn. As soon as you touch the brake pedal, the rear wing lifts back up and DRS is deactivated. But gave him sufficient to be able to get past Gary Paffett. Wittmann with a 1.5 second margin over Farfus. Now this is the interesting battle, isn't it, with 4 laps left. Jamie Green, Christian Vitoris.
Vitoris, the quicker of the two by 6-7 tenths of a second a lap, and behind Ekstrom and Spengler also on the softer tyre. Christian Vitoris on board with him now, trying to hunt down the Audi. A word about Adrian Tombe as well. He's had a terrific drive, hasn't he, from 20th on the grid, and he's up there in 6th place now. And Adrian had been one of the best qualifiers this year. I think he had a dismal day yesterday, but he's on course for a very good result here, and will be his 3rd top 6 finish of the season. So Vitoris with a few laps here to close the gap and get through, and I'm not sure there's going to be too much Jamie Green can do about this.
No, I think you're probably right. But we will see as Christian Vitoris just gives a warning look up the inside. Sure, Jamie will be well aware of the fact how close he is, or how quickly he is zooming in on his tail end. But now they run up to turn 1, and Vitoris. There's Ekstrom and Spengler. But Vitoris now.
He's in position, he's lining it up here, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, both deploying DRS, of course, because Jamie can do that because he's got Tombe within 2 seconds in front of him. So that gives him a little bit of defence, doesn't it?
A bit more braking capability on those softer tyres, isn't there? The option tyres for Vitoris. Jamie's going to have to really dig in now because he's got Vitoris on the quicker tyre. He's got Ekstrom, Spengler and Moliner all closing in on him. And these are for points as well, top 10 all scoring points.
Well, we'll see how wide the orange Audi can be made. There is Jamie Green then, and Christian Vittoris hunting him down.
Because he wouldn't have been in this position had he not had to serve that penalty as well, with the slight mishap with the slight overuse of the option tyre.
So again, Vittoris just dives up the inside just to worry him and to harry him and to let him know that he's there. So now, I don't think Vittoris will try it here. I think he'll wait until they've done turn one. Let's see. Really is on the back of the Audi now. Christian Vittoris again. They're both able to use DRS, but of course Vittoris has got the advantage of having the softer tyres. Looks like Jamie's going to make him go the long way around the outside. In fact, Jamie right in the middle of the track there, isn't he? He's, you know, defending track position, and why shouldn't he? Joining in that party now very, very quickly is Matthias Ekström. Jamie Green runs really, really wide. That, of course, puts Christian Vittoris out and plays into the hands of Matthias Ekström.
And Ekström gets through, so Eki will now have a go. What's been absolutely crucial in this for Jamie Green is that he's been able to stay within 2 seconds of Adrian Tombe, which means that he too can deploy his DRS. Without that, they'd have been past him by now. Good job by Jamie to fend them all off. He's got to do it though for another lap and a half.
So from our heli shot, you can see Jamie Green is the car there is Adrian Tombe. If Jamie Green, as long as he keeps within 2 seconds of Adrian Tombe, he's going to have that DRS available to him, isn't he? This is where
off you go, he says.
Runs wide.
I'm using all of the track. You'll have to go elsewhere, says Jamie Green. And this is on board with Eki, who stole the place.
Yeah. Great Audi benefit move, that one, wasn't it?
Just to add further insult to injury for Mercedes, really, as we go on to the last lap of the race with our leader, Marco Wittmann.
Nearly 3 seconds over Augusto Farfus for Marco Wittmann. Started, of course, from P3 on the grid. I think those BMW flags will be flying in the grandstands here.
Top 4, all BMWs.
Once again, another dominant performance from that manufacturer here in Austria, as Jamie Green has Matthias Ekström right behind, both from the same manufacturer, of course. And you would argue with Eki, who came into this race P2 in the points.
Only 8th at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
Here we go then. On the run home. And they're all waiting for him on the pit wall with their BMW flags, look.
Final turn for Marco Wittmann then, who started from P3 and then for various reasons has been able to take the win. He locks up ahead of the team as they wave their BMW flags at the same time as the checkered flag comes down. It's Wittmann, Farfus, Glock, Tomczyk, Timo Scheider. Then it's Tombe and Ekström gets ahead of Jamie Green. Vittoris P9, Spengler P10.
Ekström just nabbed that position from Jamie Green on the run through the last corner, didn't he? So Green ends up 8th, Ekström with crucial extra points for 7th position there.
So Marco Wittmann, the race winner. Well, an extremely dramatic race. One man that's going to be very happy, I feel sure, is with Verena now, and that's Jens Marquardt.
Oh, I'm absolutely convinced. Jens Marquardt, last year you managed a triple victory, and this year you managed to top it with a quadruple victory. Are you lost for words, or are you just absolutely thrilled?
Well, I am absolutely thrilled and lost for words. I mean, this was a real tough race. I have to admit, there was so much action on track, and I have to really thank all my guys. They did a fantastic job out there. They really fought hard, but they stayed out of trouble, and was tough racing out there. And they really kept their noses clean and did a fantastic job. And this is really well deserved. And I'm super happy for all of them. Marco, outstanding job, but also Augusto and Timo and Martin, So it's really great.
They really did a great job, and of course for Marco it's also fantastic, who's anyway the leader of the championship, and now another victory can't hurt.
Can't hurt at all, and good points for the manufacturers championship as well. Stefan Reinhold for his team. I mean, all 4 teams scored. I mean, this is really great. This is a day that will be really always remembered at BMW.
I'm sure. Go celebrate. Thank you so much, Jens Marquardt, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, one very, very happy man. Confirmation of the result then. Marco Wittmann takes the win from Augusto Farfus. Timo Glock, Martin Tomczyk, Timo Scheider, the first non-BMW home, P5. Then it was Tombe, Ekstrom, Green, Vittoris, Spengler, and Molina, Joey Hand, Rocky, P13, Martin, Juncadella, Adam Multara, Gary Paffett, P17, then Paul de Resta, Nico Muller, Vitaly Petrov, and, well, Robert Wickens out, Pascal Wehrlein out, and Antonio Felix da Costa out. I think there's going to be some very, very interesting discussions, Chris, at the end of that race.
It all went BMW's way, didn't it? And then we saw the onboard from Jamie Green and Matthias Ekstrom there coming out the last corner. Jamie very obviously easing off to let his Audi partner through, given that Matthias is right up there in the championship fight, just like you'd expect really, and with Marco Wittmann likewise not being fought off too hard by the other BMWs around him. But he drove well, carried the extra weight in the car as well, don't forget. So another good drive by this young man who's only now in his second season with DTM, the Formula 3 racer. Extends his championship lead. There he is. Augusto Farfus pulls in alongside for second place, and then it'll be the yellow BMW's Timo Glock coming in to the winner's circle as the third place car. After a very good drive by him as well. Goes well around this circuit, doesn't he?
Had a really interesting conversation with Jörg Kochmeyer about Marco Wittmann a couple of race events ago, and it's just been very, very complimentary, Chris, on how Marco Wittmann had developed as a person, as a racing driver, in terms of not only the way he conducts himself on the track, but also off the track as well, the feedback that he brings to the team, etc., etc. He really has come of age, and well, delighted to see him take another win. And his position at the top of the chart at the moment has been reinforced still further. And he will head to the Nürburgring high on confidence, I would have thought.
Yeah. He's dealing with the pressure well, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's a guy that's got close to championships in single-seaters. He was second in the Formula BMW World Final, second in the European Formula BMW Championship, second in the Formula 3 Euro Series twice, second in the Formula 3 Trophy. So he's absolutely desperate to make the step up. Don't expect for 1 second he thought he would be challenging for the championship this early in his DTM career then, in his second season. He's only 23 years old. And
Augusto Farfus, just seeing there, he's a real family man, isn't he?
Yeah.
His young family there, enjoying these P2 success. And Verena has Augusto Farfus to talk to right now.
Yes, I'm here with a real fighter. Augusto, what a fantastic job you did. I mean, you were just so on the fly and so attacking. P2, are you happy with the position?
Yeah, I think looking at how we started the season, struggling to get the car into the window today, we definitely show a winning performance. I mean, he definitely had a very strong pace on the options and on the prime. So I take this P2 because I'm sure it's the beginning of a winning loop.
And 4 BMWs in the front is fantastic, isn't it? Quadruple victory.
Wow, 1, 2, 3. What can ask any? I mean, you cannot ask any more. Marco did a wonderful job as well, so I'm very pleased to be part of the job.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. He's another nice, rounded young man, isn't he, Augusto Farfus?
Got a bit of contact there between Wittmann and Glock. Marco Wittmann owes a lot to his fellow BMW drivers and teams for this, because of course had Farfus not had this huge battle with Wickens before the pit stop, Wickens maybe would have been further ahead, and maybe then would never have been in the situation where he was being released just in front of Timo Glock. And then of course Timo Glock's team did a really good job to get him out. They had a slightly faster pit stop, and had they not done that, then Wickens would have come out clearly in front and he would never have got this penalty. So he owes him quite a bit, doesn't he? He owes him a couple of years.
You say, oh, that's exactly why Timo went like this with his fingers to him. Well, they're racing for the manufacturer, aren't they?
Yeah.
As well as themselves.
Understandable, completely understandable. And remember yesterday in qualifying, Timo Glock in the press conference was saying, it always goes well when my girlfriend turns up at the races. I went at Hockenheim last year when she came. I almost got pole yesterday because she's come to this one, and he's got his first podium. And Timo Glock, a very happy man. Verena, he's down there talking to you.
Yes, I'm here with a very happy man. You were fighting also like an animal. P3, how does that feel? You happy? You were fighting so hard, but in the end, P3 is good?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's another step from last year. Last year we had 1, 2, 3 for BMW. Now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 even. And that's great, and I think today we showed how teamwork is really going to work out, and that was very important for BMW in the Constructors' Championship, and great for me to be back on the podium. And it was a pretty tough fight all the way through. With Robert degrading the tires a bit more, I came back in the mix, but it was tough. It was not easy, but I'm happy. At the end we got a great result.
And I bet you're really happy as well because you're getting married next week. So we wish you all the best there, of course. So thank you very much, Timo, and back to you guys.
There we are.
There you go. Good luck. He's managed to arrange the wedding around a non-racing weekend, of course.
Well, naturally.
This is it. This is the moment that changed the race. Everybody in together. Everybody released together. And, well, a controversial moment. And one which changed the face of the entire race. That was the one moment. The other moment, of course, was the one with Jamie Green having to serve the penalty. Keep an eye on Glock and the yellow BMW, and then the Mercedes of Wickens. Great stop by the team. Wickens comes out. Not quite alongside, was he, when he was released? It was, there was clear air there. They did almost make contact. Glock did have to back off. But he was already on the march, wasn't he? He was already underway, Wickens.
Yeah.
And the Wehrlein, that was the tighter one, and he did get he actually hit Marco Wittmann there, and that could have been the end of Wittmann's race right there and then, couldn't it? If he'd been stuffed into the pit wall. So that was the more obvious of the two, and Wehrlein did get the penalty and then had a problem with the car anyway. And this was a very, very unhappy pit wall for Mercedes, and then conversations going on with all the manufacturers here and the team bosses. Dr. Wolfgang Erling there arguing about all of that as well.
Let's hear now from the race winner, Marco Wittmann, with Verena.
Yes, congratulations, Marco. That certainly was a phenomenal performance you showed there. Fantastic race. And also as a championship leader, now you're also 39 points ahead of Eki. How does that feel?
Well, first of all, it was a great race. I had a quite big mistake at the start. I expected some more grip downs there and had quite a big bog down. So I lost quite a lot of positions, and yeah, it was for me it was important to be calm, not to get in a contact. And then it was more or less important to save tires, not to push too much in the fights. And at the end I could push and come back. And actually, of course, we had a bit luck with the two drive-throughs in front of us. But sometimes you need this luck, and finally it was a great result for us in BMW.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and enjoy, and go get your trophy in a second. And I guess it's always like that. When bad luck strikes, some always benefit, but they really did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Verena. You're absolutely right. Always going to be beneficiaries, always going to be losers, aren't there? The podium is being readied, which is what we'll see the drivers on next, and lots of discussions going on. There's Christian Vittoris on the pit perch there. Lots of discussions going on. I feel sure those discussions will rage on and on this afternoon. Some more fantastic trophies from, well, a circuit that, I've always been impressed with, and ever more impressed now, I think, Chris.
And Timo Glock talked about the team and BMW as a manufacturer coming into this weekend 27 points behind Audi in the Manufacturers' Championship, which is so important, of course, to them. They've really closed that gap now. And Marco Wittmann's almost doubled his points lead over Eki. Scored 19 more points than him today. So he's about to make his way onto the podium here for the third time this season. Our race winner in DTM, he's Marco Wittmann, Dave.
So Wittmann, top step of the podium. Then we see Augusto Farfus and the soon-to-be married Timo Glock. National anthem then for Marco Wittmann will be along in just a moment. Ollie Sittler inviting everyone down to the podium. Hyun-Jong Cho then makes the trophy presentation to Marco Wittmann. And His Royal Highness Prince Leopold of Bavaria, former DTM racer, of course, making the team's trophy presentation. Alexander Safavi, the Deutsche Post Senior Marketing Manager, makes the second place trophy presentation to Augusto Farfus. And Isabella Lebock, the snowboarding world champion 2013, to Timo Glock. Well, Jens Marquardt we saw just there, Chris. Must be very, very proud of how his drivers and how his teams are performing.
Absolutely. Since they returned to DTM,
phenomenal, hasn't
BMW,
it?
a few seasons ago, just hit the ground running, didn't they, that first season, and getting better and better for them. We have seen enough this weekend, though, to convince us that it's going to be much tighter for the second half of the season, isn't it, between the manufacturers?
I think you're right. Now, you know what? In many ways, I think with what has happened today, it'll just spur others on even more. It'll give even more motivation. I'm convinced of that.
Well, Marco Wittmann hasn't won the title yet, but he's taken a big stride towards it today. 39 points clear now of his nearest rival, and with 4 races still to go. Well, Verena has managed to catch up with Christian Vittorius, had a good run through for Mercedes to 9th place. Verena, down to you.
Yeah, Christian, you're the best Mercedes with 9th position. I guess that's not what everybody was hoping for. I guess you're a little disappointed, or how do you feel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the strategy we chose yesterday obviously wasn't the right one, starting on the prime tires, changing to the option tire. Today was for some reason not good. We didn't have the pace at the other one at the beginning. So yeah, it was really, really hard for me to catch up, train again. Yeah, we scored some points, but obviously that was not what we have expected after yesterday. but mainly it's because of the strategy, I would say.
And all in all, I would say for Mercedes it was a black day. I mean, Wickens being black flagged, and also for Wehrlein, catastrophe. There were heated discussions. Did you hear anything new about that?
No, I'm just out of the car. Just saw the replay, but that's all of information I have at the moment.
And in general, as a driver, do you say it's the rule, just got to accept it, or I mean, it's still frustrating?
Well, at the end, if the stewards take the decision, I think it's you have to take the penalty then. The result is the black flag now, so you have nothing. Then I would prefer to drive through, take some points, than having nothing.
I think that's what we all thought. Thank you very much, Christian, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Very interesting point that you asked from him.
Here it is again then.
That's it.
The lead group all coming in together.
Everyone in, yep.
So it's the one at the front, the Mercedes, the dark Mercedes, and then Glock. There you go. He's out now. He's released before Glock is alongside, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's released before Glock's alongside. I don't know. That seems harsh, doesn't it? Pascal Wehrlein, as we said earlier, was the one that was the worst one behind. Look at Wehrlein behind. He does go. I think he clipped, didn't he,
Yeah,
Marco
he
Wittmann?
did. Got the back end of the car stepped out.
It's an interesting point Christian Vittoris made, which is one we were saying in the commentary, that the option tyres were much quicker at the start of the race on that lead group, getting on for 2 seconds, 1.5 to 2 seconds quicker. When we got to the second phase of the race, those that switched to the softer, like Vittoris, were quicker, but not even by a second a lap. So I wonder if, as the track temperature went up, more rubber went down, that they just got too hot, those option tyres, and too sticky.
The lighter fuel load would compensate, wouldn't it?
Yeah, to a point, but I think the thing is always the tyres, isn't it? And that's more important almost than the weight of the car, as we saw with Wittmann having the win with the heaviest car out there. I just think maybe it just got too rubbered up, too hot,
Perhaps
and the option tyres still had the advantage, but nothing like they did at the start of the race. And maybe ultimately those that chose that strategy didn't quite have the cars underneath them anyway this weekend.
So some beautiful shots of the area that we're in here. We're right at the top of, we're at the Remus turn, aren't we, from this camera?
Yeah.
Looking back down, and that gives you some indication of the climb up, not only to turn 2, but also you could just see from turn 1, up, the incline up into turn 1. The Red Bull looks on.
Yeah, wonderful setting, wonderful circuit. One of the favourites of the drivers as well. It's fast and flowing because it's one of the quicker circuits on the tour, with 180 odd kilometres an hour, the average speed around here, 235 for top speed. And it might not be the most challenging circuit that they drive, but it's one of the most fun for them, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. It is a firm favourite. The drivers will be heading off to the press conference in due course. Wittmann, Farfus and Glock. And they're the paddock complex that you can see, and to the very right of your picture is the whole new, which is where we're situated at the moment, the whole new structure that had been constructed for F1. Meantime, here's Verena with Dieter Gas now.
Dieter Gas, let's talk about Jamie Green. What was the problem there? Would you say it was just a very unfortunate mistake from the team, or what was going on there? Can you explain it to us?
Well, it was unfortunate, I would agree, but I wouldn't say it was an unfortunate mistake from the team. I don't think we can say that. There was a problem in the communication between a driver and the team, which resulted in what we have seen, that Jamie did one lap too much, yes.
Thank you very much. And back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Verena. So Dieter confirming then that, it was a communications error. It wasn't the fact that they felt that, he could do another lap. Now, to be fair, Chris, when we saw all those cars come in a long train, we knew that was the time that you'd got to do it.
Yeah, so it wasn't a mistake on the strategy. He's saying it was a communication error. I wanted Jamie to come in, but maybe he didn't get the message for whatever reason, stayed out that lap too long, and ruined the race for him. Shame, because he'd had a good stop, hadn't he? And he'd got to the front of that pack, but anyway, it's kind of the story of his season. He's had good pace and hasn't always got the results on the day itself, apart from, of course, at the Norris Ring, where he got the runner-up spot behind Robert Wickens.
So there is Ditigas with Mr. Jürgen Pippig as well.
And the bright spot for Audi is that Timo Scheider had such a good race through the order, didn't he? From what was it, the 8th row of the grid?
Yes.
Up to 5th place. That was a strong drive from Timo. But all in all, it's been a weekend to forget for the Stuttgart manufacturer.
So the ice watch car then of Marco Wittmann, as we see once again heading towards the checkered flag, and the checkered flag almost eclipsed there by the number of BMW flags being waved from the pit wall. Wittmann locks it up in celebration. Adrian Tombe took P6, and he's with Farina.
Yes, here we are. Now P6, I guess it was a really, really tough race, but all in all, let's also talk about the little collision thing you had there with Pascal Wehrlein. After that ended the race, but from your point of view, how was the race? Pretty tough, huh?
Yeah, pretty tough, but also very enjoyable. From P20 to P6, I think it's a very good performance. The car was really good. Yeah, on the way to that place, you have to take a bit of risk, overtake, and I think with Pascal it was fine. A bit better than in Norrisring. Try to be a bit more calm, and no, I think it was everything okay.
Great job. Thank you so much, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Adrian, and thanks, Farina. Well, Tombe has done a fantastic job, hasn't he?
Yeah, one of the drives of the day, that wasn't it, from where he started on the grid. As I said, he's been, apart from Wittmann, he's been the best qualifier this year, but he had a disaster yesterday, which is why he was back on 20th spot on the grid. But he certainly made it for it today, the 22-year-old Parisian, and picked up some useful points. Following on, of course, from the DNF that he had at Moscow, his first non-finish of the year.
Which was not his fault.
No. Yep, driving well this year.